Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome to our latest webcast that we're bringing you from Travel Weekly. And I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by two very special people. Harry Hastings, who is the co-founder and co-CEO of Ocean Holidays, and Gill Standeven, who is the Senior Account Director at Visit Florida. So welcome, both of you. How are you?
Very well,
Good,
thank
thanks.
you.
Nice to see you, Lucy. Nice to see you, Jill.
Yeah, and you too. Very nice. Thanks for having me.
Well, listen, it's a very special reason I brought you both on today. I'm absolutely delighted to say that both Visit Florida and Ocean Holidays are kindly sponsoring the first Travel Weekly accessible travel themed issue. It's something I've wanted to focus on for some time, and I'm delighted that both your organizations share that sentiment. So we're going to be bringing this out on the 13th of July, packed full of information about accessible travel. And I guess I think it's needed because it's a big market out there. You guys have obviously felt that as well. So let's just come to you, if I may, Harry, first. Why is Ocean Holidays focused on this? I know you launched your accessibility program back in November, something we wrote about, but there's a big reason behind this.
Yeah, well, firstly, it's interesting to hear you say you're launched on the 13th of July as well, Lucy, because I think I remember chatting to you about, you guys wanted to do some accessibility launch and focus this year, and it's amazing to see it actually starting to come to fruition. So delighted to be a sponsor with our biggest destination partner, Visit Florida. So really, really pleased to be talking about this today. We've come into accessibility really for a number of reasons. You mentioned first and foremost the size of the market. So, 1 in 5 people are registered disabled, and when I first heard that statistic, and I thought about the amount of holidays that we sell, especially to Florida, and the amount of people we must be booking who are registered disabled in some way, shape, or form, who we potentially weren't looking after in the best way we possibly could. And I have my own personal story. I've got a rare genetic. My son Rudy's got a rare genetic condition. And he's profoundly disabled, and he's just turned 3 in March. So, the combination of thinking about holidays, experiencing holidays myself with Rudy as a family as well, really made us look at what we're doing at Ocean Holidays and really start to go out and understand how can we do a better job. And we did all sorts of research going until we went live last November, and it was just incredible to see how underserved people that are registered disabled are, holistically as well, not just physically, but cognitively, whether you've got mobility problems, or maybe you might be autistic, or
Yeah.
whatever challenges that you have in life as as an industry. I just felt we weren't serving them very well. So we launched in November. It's going great guns. We've done about £5 million worth of bookings already. And not only that, when we look at some of the data, we did some big surveys prior to going live with accessibility. Over half of people were very, very frustrated with their experience. A third of people associated going on holiday with stress. And I can tell you now that we've had so far, of all the bookings that have travelled, our sort of post-travel feedback complaint ratios are almost where you would expect, say, a villa holiday, or the type of booking that is typically known as quite tricky. So by putting that focus in, we think by getting the people, those stress numbers of half, we think we're down to about 5%, about 1 in 20. So it's been a roaring success so far.
Wow. Okay. Gosh, you've there's a lot there, and I want to come back on loads and loads of things, particularly about the success you've had, and also about, you started to talk there a little bit about, 1 in 5 people disabled, but we've got to broaden our minds of what disability means, because it's not just people with mobility issues who you might imagine, people in wheelchairs, let's say. It's such a broad range of requirements and perhaps special help people need. So let's come back to that, so we can really go through that to help anyone watching this who might want to serve their customers better. But let's just bring you in, Jill. We wrote a feature recently where actually one of Harry's colleagues from Ocean said that Florida was ahead of the game when it comes to accessibility. So talk to us about the state of Florida and what it's doing around accessible travel.
Yeah, I mean, similar to Harry, really. We know that in Florida, there are so many of our attractions and suppliers that already are doing so much. But what we found when we talked to travel agents was that they didn't have anywhere to find that information, and it was quite fragmented. So we did a lot of research, and we went out and we vetted an awful lot of suppliers and asked them what they were doing, and we've put it all together on one portal. We have an accessibility portal on our website, and it's kind of like a one-stop shop so that anybody can go on there. I did a quick search on our website just before we came on here, and we have over 8,000 articles on our accessibility hub website, and it goes through airports, but all the way through to attractions, to our state parks. So it's more about where people can find the information that they need to, and the agent needs to then talk to their clients as well. So similarly to Harry, we survey visitors to Florida, and about 12% of them, out of 1.1 million people coming from the UK, about 12% of them have additional needs when they're traveling. So that's a big number of people, and if we don't have the right information for them, it's an opportunity lost, and a great thing for us to be able to shout about as well, that we have so many attractions that can assist these people.
Okay, so there's obviously been a communication issue, and you're trying to address that by providing this portal and all this information and articles. But just on a practical level, Gill, when you say you've got all these attractions and they are doing things to make things more accessible, to assist people, what can you give us some examples? I know in your beaches, for example, you've got plenty of beaches that are either got wheelchairs with bigger wheels, or you've got these mats, or you've got, there's various things you're doing around that, but I'm sure it's much broader than that with kind of things you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, like the beaches is probably a perfect example. Many of the beaches, they hire out, or they're not hire, they lend out beach wheelchairs. These things, they're with these big balloon wheels, and like you say, the Moby mats on the beach, which means that the ground is slip free. So the beaches are very accessible for a start. But in our theme parks, for example, most of the big theme parks, you can get an accessible pass from guest services when you join, when you first go, and that means things like there's accessibility for queuing. So people that can't stand in queues, there'll be a room or a space for them. Certain attractions have different sensory, they can go at the front, or they can put down the lighting and the sound so that they can adapt the attractions.
Okay.
Kennedy Space Center, for example, Kennedy Space Center, for example, they can send out a video prior for the caregiver so that they can prepare children with autism, for example, so that they can walk through the day, so that they can be prepared, so that they're prepared for what they're going to enjoy when they're there, and things like that really help to to make it just as enjoyable as it is for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you mentioned autism there, and I actually did a bit of research like you before coming on here, and it's an incredible stat that 87% of families who live with autism don't take holidays because, back to Harry's point, it's just too stressful. And the other issue is a lot of it people feel it's more expensive to take holidays if they've got some additional needs. So Harry, talk to us a little bit about the types of people you're now helping them, and from neurodiversity up to full sort of wheelchair requirement. Is it the full spectrum you're trying to help?
Yeah, so 2 points there, but pricing is also an interesting one. Maybe
We'll
come on to that one as well.
That comes up strongly in a lot of the surveys that people think it's too expensive. So
so look, we've taken a holistic view. So if you look at 4 categories that we've broken it down in, it's about mobility, visual, cognitive, and hearing impairment. So for us, it's about working with families, or working with adults, or whomever it may be that wants to go on a holiday, and taking their lead really, and making sure, when you say how are we providing support, or what services are we offering, I think, and this is what I would say to any travel agents out there now that are looking at this that are watching this video now and wanting to be able to provide more of a service for accessible holidays. I think in the travel industry, we are so kind and so service driven, and we want to make everything perfect for our guests all the time, that when somebody comes with additional needs or special needs, often in the travel industry for travel managers and travel creators, is that we sort of freeze and we panic because we actually don't know ourselves how to provide the right service
Yeah.
for people with additional needs. Because, well, why would we don't many people who are providing these holidays don't have the exact same additional needs. Nobody really has the same additional needs as it is anyway. So I think firstly, and the most important thing, and this is coming from someone who's the parent of a disabled son as well, is first and foremost, you've got to take the lead of the family or the party or the group that's going. We mustn't try to direct or try to take charge of the situation. And then once you get that feedback, and once you get as much information as possible, as well as providing things like accessible hubs. Gill mentioned the Visit Florida's got a comprehensive accessibility hub, as have we with Ocean Florida. And it's about saying, right, well, what are your requirements? What are your needs? What do you want me to help you with, and what don't you want me to help you with? So, from a personal perspective, if I think back to some of the holidays that I've had with Rudy, when it comes to flying, I need to take responsibility for his chair. I need to make sure that everything's perfect. I need to make sure that there's special assistants at the airport. I'm not going to trust anyone to do any of that. So
Right.
that's an example where in my situation, I would say, so if I was booking with a travel agent, I'd say, look, just book me the flights. I'll go straight to the airline and I'll deal with the special assistants and I'll deal with all that stuff. However,
But Harry, can I just ask, do you do that because you just don't trust it to be done properly at the moment, because whichever part of that chain just isn't kind of geared up for helping you in the way you need? Is that, would you pass on the responsibility if you were confident it could be looked after properly?
The more complicated something is, the better it is to have less of a chain, and the more in control you feel. And the more in control you feel, the higher the less anxiety and the higher
Yeah.
likelihood of success. So there's certain things as a parent I know I need to take care of. Now,
Right.
somebody else with mobility issues might have a simpler wheelchair than Rudy, or they might have a simpler way to get to their seat, so they'll be less anxious about that. But
Yeah.
because Rudy's so complex, that is an area that I really need to be
Okay.
concerned about. But
Yeah.
then there's other things that I'm not concerned about. So, for example, he would have syringes, plungers. They're not syringes as in needles. They're plungers for feeding, for tube feeding
Tubes. Yeah.
and medicine, etc. And when I'm at a hotel, what's really useful is if the hotel staff just wash all of our plungers and syringes for us, so that we don't have to, get some fairy. We're fed up with doing it at home. Get the fairy liquid. Do that. Who's doing the syringes tonight? All that. Being on holiday, it's great if the staff could take the plungers and syringes. We go out for the day, come back, and they're all perfectly clean and they're in a bowl. See, that's something that's good for me. That's the sort of thing I'm happy to pass on
To
to
relinquish.
somebody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. Of course.
But on the flip side, people with certain conditions are never ever going to trust the hotel staff with them with
No.
the equipment they need for their medication. But they might trust an airline if their
With a chair
mobility
or.
issues and a
Yeah.
different. Yeah. So it's all
Okay.
about
So it's about listening, isn't it?
it's
It's
about
about
listening
listening to
and
everybody's
individuality.
specific
Yes. Exactly.
requirements.
Exactly.
Okay.
And in the travel industry, we always try to help people, and we try to make people's holidays perfect. But my tip would be with accessible holidays is actually don't try to make it perfect. What do you need? Take the lead from the party, and take the lead from the guests, rather than try to take control of the whole holiday and make it totally seamless. People with disabilities, they understand that they need to take control of certain elements of their trip.
Yeah, and they've been doing it for so long, because obviously they've
Exactly.
not really been catered for very well, as we're discovering. And Jill, would you? I mean, Harry's talking there about, it's so complex and all the rest of it, and then people probably feel nervous to help. So, do you think a lot of travel agents that you've spoken to are just turning business away, or perhaps they're sending it to an absolute niche specialist, and that perhaps that's when you know, maybe that's when the costs come in, etc. So what do you think's happening at the moment that we need to kind of overcome?
I think you're absolutely right. I think, to Harry's point, as soon as somebody asks, you know, that has got additional needs, people get nervous. They're scared to say the wrong thing or ask the wrong thing. And I think it's about, you know, ask the individual what they need, exactly to your point, Harry, and don't be scared to ask questions as well, because the person would rather have the question asked and then get the, you know, and get their needs met, for sure. And when I speak to travel agents, they want the information, because they don't know where to turn to. And like Harry said, they want to help these people and they want to give them the best possible service, but they can't find out the information in the first place. So rather than try, it's just, you know, like you say, they'll say, oh, we don't cater for that, and send them to specialist operators. And like you say, that's when it starts to get quite expensive. And yeah, so I think people really want to do it, but they just don't know how.
Yeah, and so there's a big training element which we'll come on to. But Harry, you mentioned there that, you know, since this accessibility program has started, you've done really well, 5 million, I think you said, which is fantastic. So is that all coming direct to Ocean? Or, because I know obviously you sell part of Ocean Holidays through the trade now, and that's a growing part of your business. Are you getting some agents coming to you with inquiries? Or, I mean, I know it's only early days, but how's the business coming in?
So I think first and foremost, and going back to the beginning of this conversation, is that a good chunk of our bookings were already traveling with us who had additional needs and were not telling us. So
All right. Okay.
what's really interesting is that, and I haven't looked at the numbers, I've not looked at the data, how many are new bookings and how many are repeat customers within the accessibility um, bookings that we've done so far. But I think, yeah, firstly, you've got a whole group of people that are now telling us. So when we were talking about autism earlier, and that horrendous stat that you just said, 87% don't go on holiday at all. You know, we have things like the Sunflower Charities, which helps with with hidden disabilities, so
Yeah.
that, you know, so you can walk through airports and have the lanyard saying that if you've got a hidden disability or not. Sorry, Lucy, what was the question? I lost myself there on the hidden disabilities.
That's all right. Well, we could talk about that as well. But no, I was sort of,
On
I was, because
bookings,
I
yeah,
want
the
this,
amount of
because I
bookings
want
by
this to be
trade.
really helpful for
Yeah, it's about the
people.
trade. Yeah.
And if an agent at the moment, you know, they've got a customer who comes in, they might go to visit, they want to go to Florida, or perhaps they don't, but they go, oh, I know Florida's doing well. I'll go and, you know, doing well at this. I'll go and have a look at their site. But at some point, they need a tour operator to sort of
Yeah.
help them complete that booking. And I just wondered if you're getting agents coming through you to book travel,
Yeah,
or is
that's
it
it.
mainly direct at the
Yeah,
moment?
so of those bookings, a lot of it we knew about already, and then direct to consumer is where the volume is, and part of that is we're putting out loads of content, so lots of people are coming to us.
Yeah.
We are putting the message out to travel agents. We have been sharing lots of content. We included all of our travel agent partners as part of the accessibility launch, so that's all been a part of it. The whole trade team is trained up and ready to take accessibility inquiries. But I think it's fair to say, in comparison to the consumer side, the level of interest and is less so via the trade at the moment. And we would very much encourage people to speak to us more about it. I think what's also interesting within the trade is, you know, we believe we've got the most comprehensive we believe we've got the most comprehensive accessible travel program for mass market holidays, Florida, USA mass market. Obviously
It's not just Florida. I know. Sorry, Jill. Block your ears while we just talk about this. But you can. It's beyond Florida as well through Ocean Holidays, isn't it?
Yeah, so obviously we're Florida and beyond, so Florida and US
Yeah.
specialists. So you know, mostly we're talking about Florida and the rest of the USA, but we believe we've got the most comprehensive program in the market to book through in the trade. So firstly, our existing travel agent partners, no, then are not as engaged as what we're seeing on the consumer side. And then also there are some consortia and lots of other travel agent partners that, where we're relatively new, are not signed up to us yet. So
Yeah.
I do wonder how the rest of the trade is handling incoming accessibility inquiries for Florida and the rest of the USA, because we're certainly not picking up picking up the lion's share at the moment, but we believe we've got the most comprehensive program. And actually, when I look across the market, other than the niche tour operators, I can't see anybody else doing what we're doing. So we need to get more out there, and we need people to come to us and let us train you, let us guide you, let us make sure that we can support you and your customers.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully this will help get that message out. And that point about training, yes, agents need to learn. Clearly, they need to, understand the sort of first steps. But the point is, you've got trained people in your call center, haven't you?
Yes.
You've put a lot of people through training so that they can help the agents if they're not experts just yet. Is that right?
Yeah, so we've got accessibility champions across the business, many of which have got stories similar to mine, and it's something that they're passionate about. And when we launched this program, we weren't short of people saying we would love to be a part of this. And a lot of the service that you're providing, we talk about access to information, but at the same time, it's having the emotional intelligence to be able to connect with and make sure you give the right guidance and have the right approach to people. That bit, the information's there. It's on the Visit Florida hub. It's on the Ocean Florida hub, but it's matching that with the needs of people. And we've got lots of people in the business that are trained up from sales right through to customer service. The product team are the biggest champions of it. So it's everywhere in Ocean Holidays.
Okay. I'll come back on a point on that in a second. But Gill, of the people the inquiries that you get, do they invariably include theme parks? Because you just would imagine people want to take children away to that absolute dream, theme park experience. So, or are your accessible, attractions beyond Orlando, for example, or accessible sort of facilities beyond just the theme parks?
100%, yeah. And actually, we asked repeat bookers why they actually chose a holiday to Florida, and we all expect to see, and this is the access to the people with additional needs, and we all expect to see theme parks, but actually the beaches and the climate came top before the theme parks. And then another one of the top 5 reasons was because Florida, they feel safe and welcome in Florida, which is something that we were really, really proud to hear. And I think it is getting out into, we have so much flora and fauna, actually it's getting out to those, we have 175 state parks, and many of them are ADA compliant. We have attraction tour companies that can get people out on the water, I mean, scuba diving is a massive thing for people with disabilities, because that when you get in the water, you're weightless and they feel no pain, and to have those those people that especially provide those assisted activities, I think is like you say, it's so much more than the theme parks, to be fair.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make that point, because I think people might think it's the kind of classic, I'm going to take them to Disney because it's a dream thing, but you have done so much more, as you say, whether it's ramped through some of your national parks and all the rest of those examples. So it's worth saying. Harry, I just want to come back to you on the point you just made about, your personal story, and then you said you've got people in your team who've got similar stories to you. Does it take someone having a personal story to take this issue seriously, or do you think the industry actually, because not everyone's gonna have that story, and yet they're missing out on helping people? They're probably turning customers away, which is just a horrible feeling if you're not providing that service. Back to your point about how we want to make magic happen for people, and as an industry we want to do great customer service, but there's a commercial imperative here. I mean, you mentioned how much money you've made, but I mean, it's a big market, isn't it, that we're as an industry potentially not servicing?
Yeah, look, I think you're never going to get away from the fact that people who have close friends and family and have got personal stories with anything such as this in their work, they are going to be the first ones to step forward, and they're going to be the champions. I think that's just the way of life. That's just human nature. However, what is happening, and what inevitably happens, is that people then follow, and they become the champions, and then people realize not only is it the right thing to do, which is important, but it's also a really sensible commercial thing to do. So, I mentioned the product team earlier. It's interesting when I think about it. If I look across the business, um, a lot of the customer facing teams are more likely to have personal stories. But when I look at the product and commercial team who have championed it and have just done the most amazing job, making sure that everyone's got access to the right information, making sure that everyone's got the right tools, and creating the whole program from start to finish. We started it about 2 years ago, and really following it through. Actually, that product and commercial team doesn't, to my knowledge, necessarily have those personal stories. So you
So
do
they've just
get,
become passionate about it
they've
because,
just become
yeah,
become absolutely passionate about it, and the more they got involved in it, the more they realized, and if you if you're a commercial person and somebody turns around to you and says 1 in 5 of your customers are not being served, then a light bulb moment goes off and goes, oh wow, I better look at that. And and that's
but do
what's
you
happened.
find it surprising then that you said earlier that you, aside from the really niche specialists in accessible travel, you feel like you're the only sort of more mainstream, I guess, business that's addressing it. Do you find that surprising given the size and the scale of the market?
Yeah, I think you've got three. There's now any airline-led tour operators. Absolutely, they by law and quite right, and some of them do a fantastic job already. And some can do better jobs as well. And you've got this top tier, which is your airline-led tour operators, and then you've got, in terms of size, and then you've got these niche tour operators in terms of size, which are sort of more in the more smaller in terms of size. But it's this middle ground of
Yeah,
these sort of mid-sized travel agents and tour operators that are typically selling mass market destinations, that for some reason are ignoring this huge part of the market. And I say for some reason, I think we know why, and we've discussed
discussed
that.
it. Yeah,
Just discussed that. We've been over it today. I spoke about it a lot when we launched our accessibility program. But when you look at that middle tour operator, OTA, Minipools, etc., for some reason it's not getting the attention it deserves, and I really think it should. And I think that we all need to identify the commercial opportunity, identify it's the right thing to do, and get to work on it.
yeah. I mean, the half problem is that we hear all the horror stories. You see, I mean, there was that, Frank Gardner, the BBC correspondent, who they'd lost his wheelchair, then they'd broken it, and do you remember that story? I mean, of course, he's really high profile. I think he'd been left on a plane, then he'd had literally a catalogue of really bad experience, and of course he's got a platform to talk about how badly he was treated. And I suppose as more people travel in a good way, we just kind of need to raise awareness and hear the good stories, and then people go, oh, okay, so it's not awful to travel, so that we can just try and get more people get those stats down, so people do actually want to travel and then don't find it stressful and an absolute nightmare experience.
Indeed, yeah. Feel the fear and do it anyway. People need to have less fear.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so in terms of training and looking forward, Gill, you've got your the resource on your website. Do you do sort of specialist training or anything for the trade, or are you thinking about doing different things coming up?
Yeah, we do. And I should have said that the resources that we have now, in addition to the website, we also have our online training portal, which is Visit Florida Travel Pro. And we've just launched an accessibility chapter on there, a specialist chapter. And actually, the reason that we did that, our training program has 4 basic chapters, but then anybody that has been through that program, we asked them what other information they wanted. And accessibility came. So we took the feedback from the travel agents, what was missing, and accessibility came back almost,
Wow.
So we knew that we needed to create that and give that information. So there's a chapter on there that takes about 15 minutes, but it also lists A to Z, attractions and tour providers as well. And it's there for reference so that they can go back and look at that. So that's on there. Any face-to-face training we're doing now will always include a section on accessibility as well. we have our YouTube channel, and that's got a whole playlist on there of accessibility content. So we're making it not just a pillar, not just a specialist pillar, we're making it part and parcel of all of our information and our support for agents.
Maybe we need to do like a specialist fam trip, you know, take between us. I don't know, maybe we could try and take some agents away and show them perhaps the end-to-end experience booking through Ocean, and then going and trying out some of the, you know, I haven't primed you this. These two are just going, oh God. I just thought we should, maybe it would be a great thing to do, and then to get
go through the process.
And it's great minds think alike, really, because we are already working with Ocean on an influencer trip with some content creators, and they will do exactly that. They've got their own additional their own specialist needs, and Harry's company and Harry's team are going to support them booking it, but we're then going to, then they're going to put that film out to their followers as well. So it's also about content where somebody can actually see themselves in that content. And we're very busy creating that as well. But I think getting agents out there is a fantastic idea. Yeah, we'll get to work on that, shall we, Harry?
We'll do that. And what we would show them, I guess, what I would want to show is this end-to-end sort of experience, Harry, because obviously it comes from the initial sort of inquiry, and that listening piece that you said was really important, and working out which the control, where they want to sort of let it go to you and where they want to keep hold of it. But just talk us through, like, maybe just pick one trip that you've booked recently. So from the minute someone calls you to the holiday, how much do you get involved and hold their hand, or do you then rely on, but when do you hand over to Visit Florida and your partners over in the destination? And
so first things first, we took the IATA, we replicated the list of information and requests that IATA have published in terms of special requests, additional needs, and accessibility, and we built that into our CRM. So that was big piece of work. So when somebody comes to us and says, look, I've got somebody in the party, or several people in the party with additional needs, then they will send them the portal, and they'll fill in all of the information on their behalf of what areas they need help with, what areas we can that they're going to help themselves on, and any other information. So it's pretty comprehensive to begin with, and then there'll also be assigned a specialist accessibility sales agent, reservations person at that time, who holds their hand. Once we've gathered all of the information, then that reservations person, that salesperson, will start to essentially curate an itinerary, or curate a holiday that suits their needs, and then they've got the team internally, the product team, have got a curated program, everything from villas to hotels, to what airlines can do to what you can rent for equipment, and everything's covered within our internal hub, which is also published on the online hub that everybody can see as well. So we'll take you through the booking process. Interestingly, when somebody goes through that process with us, from the point of quote to booking, there's a 4 times higher likelihood of them booking than a normal inquiry that gets a quote. So a more typical
the conversion rate is much higher.
It's 4 times higher once somebody provides us with all that information, and we've done that listening piece. The conversion rate is 4 times higher. So this myth that some people will have, say, well, an accessibility inquiry is going to take me loads of time. You put the time in at the front, and you listen to the guest and the customer.
But the
reward is there's a 4 times higher likelihood that you're going to get the booking, because you've actually done that work up front, and that you're appreciated so much for that. So that's the first thing. So you're going to you've got a much higher likelihood of conversion. Then you've got hopefully a very happy customer at that point. Now, Florida, especially with us, because we have such comprehensive out-of-date range programs, you're typically booking very, very early. So, more than 50% of our bookings are outside of 11 months, which is fortunate in terms of preparation.
That's for all Florida bookings, not just special needs ones.
No, all Florida bookings. So as a business model, we as an average, about 50% of bookings are done outside of 11 months. So we've always got long lead, nearly always got long lead times on bookings, which as far as accessibility is concerned, it plays to an advantage, because once that conversion has taken place, once someone's booked that holiday, then that drops into the product team, and they have a dedicated accessibility officer within the team, and that person double checks, triple checks, and goes through every element of the booking to make sure that we have done everything we said we'd do, compares the booking to all of the needs that they've been asked for, and just make sure we're absolutely certain that everything's perfect. Once that accessibility officer has given it the thumbs up, then within the after sales customer service team with Ocean Florida, we've got dedicated customer service champions for accessibility. So if that customer was to speak to us in between booking and traveling for whatever reason, they would be routed to those accessibility champions within that team who are trained as well. And then we've also got our normal concierge service, which everyone benefits from throughout our customer journey, so touch points. But when we have touch points with people that have got accessibility needs, obviously those touch points are a little bit different from those that don't. So we follow that process all the way through. And then on the supply side, everything we've done, we've contracted in such a way that we can make sure that whatever the requirements are, they're communicated and double checked and triple checked before travel. I mentioned earlier about Sunflower Charity. We've partnered with a Sunflower Charity, so if you've got a hidden disability, you'll be sent that with your document. You'll be sent a lanyard with your documentation, and we have some other extra stuff.
And is that just to wear through airports, or is it recognised also in attractions in the state?
I think it's pretty much recognised everywhere you go now. You can walk down my local high street and people know what it is. So I think and it can be a great. I think it can be of great I know it can be of great comfort when you've got that with you, if people don't quite realise, or it's a comforting signal to have around. So they're the sort of things we do. Then in destination, hopefully everything's okay by that point. Somebody's travelled. And
is that the most stressful bit? What's the most stressful bit? Booking, the airport, the flight. Surely when they get there, you hope it's
as a customer or as a travel agent.
I don't know. I meant customer, but it's a really good point. I don't know, like probably the booking bit, because you want to get it right.
The booking bit, as a travel agent, it's getting the booking right at the beginning, and then it's issuing all the documentation and making sure everything's perfect pre-travel. As a customer, as with everybody else, the airport experience is often not great, and sometimes there's anxiety before you get to your accommodation or your transportation at the other end. But hopefully have a seamless holiday, and we hear from
Jill
you.
will say that bit's the stress-free bit when they get to Florida. They have the best time ever.
Hopefully you have a stress-free holiday, and the next time we hear from you is a good review. But if you do have challenges in resort, then we're
you've got an office there,
we're the only tour operator in Europe that's got our own dedicated employees and welcome center in Central Florida. So we've got a team of 15 people out there that are dedicated to our customers on the ground. So if
and there's some of those trained as well for
absolutely, so we've got champions out there as well that are part of the program.
And looking ahead, Harry, do you see you just getting more people trained up to be champions or experts in this field? And another question around growth is, are you seeing more hotel partners or villa partners coming to you saying we've made the grade now, we've done this, that and the other, so we can be featured? Are you seeing that starting to snowball, I guess?
So the internal upskilling element is a natural evolution. As I mentioned earlier, you've had all these champions that are doing such a great job. Now everybody naturally wants to be a part of it. So it's at the beginning it was trying to get people to sign up. Now everyone wants to be a part of it. So it's become part of our culture. It's part of what
That's
part of our
great.
what we are. It's part
so
of what
you
we
think
offer,
everybody in Ocean ultimately will be?
I don't know about everybody. If somebody's been with the company 6 months and not sold holidays before, accessibility might be a bit further down the line. But but certainly it's becoming ingrained in the business essentially. Right. So
and then the other question around, are you finding more product available and more sort of partners wanting to be part of this kind of movement that you're pursuing?
I think in terms of product, look, you're launching your accessibility program now on Travel Weekly. Visit Florida have been, ironically, Visit Florida and Ocean Holidays started talking and launching around about the same time. I guess early adopters in this current current wave. I think what's happened is that there is a natural progression to make sure that destinations and resorts and hotels and villa management companies and villa owners, etc., are to be more inclusive. You had Airbnb not so long ago have added a whole load of accessibility features on their platform as well. So I think ultimately what's happening is it's happening without us having to sort of hunt around and try to find pockets of people that want to help. I think there's this momentum now from a
Yeah,
supply. I'm seeing momentum from a supply side, most
yeah,
definitely, and hopefully it's a situation of build it and they will come.
yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, we've got to go now to plan a fam trip. So now I've said it on camera, we're going to have to do something like that. But listen, it's remarkable. It's brilliant. I'm so pleased it's gone so well for you, Harry, because we talked when you first launched it, and for you, Gill, as well. I mean, fantastic as to be that state that is really, as you say, ahead of the game here and doing such a lot in this area. And I can't thank you enough for being so supportive of our attempts to try and educate as well the trade, because without your support we wouldn't be able to do that kind of thing. So I wish you both the best, and as I say, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Jill. Thanks, Lucy.
It's
All right,
great.
see you both soon. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.